Nebraska farmers push forward following a devastating week. Welcome to NTV's Grow. I'm Steve White. Take a look at storm damage. Pivots, grain bins, ethanol plants, co-ops hit by the storms. And we're on location at the Junior Red Angus National event in Grand Island. Tornado victims and relief workers prepare for the long haul in northeast Nebraska, where it's much more than homes that were flattened. Stanton County is a huge ranching community. It's safe to say there are more cattle than people, and thousands of cows were stuck in the path of the storm. David Dinklish says he'd never seen a tornado until he saw the two-headed twister headed straight for his home. His barns are gone and more than 300 cows dead. He lost his home and his livelihood.
To rebuild, it's going to take a long time. So, yeah, all our machinery's in that machine shed. That's all gone. We can't farm the rest of the year because, you know, we got our planter, our combine, our baler, everything's in there, and can't feed the cattle now, so it'll just be rebuild.
Producers who suffered death losses or feed losses are encouraged to contact their local FSA office to see if they're eligible under the Emergency Livestock Assistance Program. And here in central Nebraska, we're also dealing with the aftermath of hail and tornadoes. The Father's Day storms packed a punch. Rainfall created flooding and lakes in area fields and brought more devastating hail.
The crop sustained a loss as well, so this is a tough time of the year for the crops to sustain a loss, because then you get to the point where do you replant, do you let what's out there continue to grow? So we just want to be here for our farmer owners.
And here's a bird's eye view of the Aurora Cooperative elevator in Keene. An employee flew a remote controlled drone over the grain elevators. 6 bins were totaled, equal to 500,000 bushels of storage. The damage estimate is up to $2 million so far. Wilcox-based CPI also suffered major damage. Mother Nature's fury also caused damage at the Kappa ethanol plant. Near Minden, metal crumples under the pole of just one cable. In approximately 60 seconds, Kappa ethanol's badly damaged grain bin comes tumbling down in a cloud of dust. The structure was torn down after being hit by high winds during last week's storms. Those storms also keeping pivot dealers extremely busy. NTV's Sarah Kirkley has more.
Pivot dealers I talked to say for now manufacturers are keeping up with demand, but it still could take some time to get those repairs done.
Stoltenberg Irrigation.
Phones don't seem to stop ringing at Stoltenberg Irrigation.
Definitely seeing a lot of pivots being replaced, more replacements than repairs.
Ed Stoltenberg says he's dealing with well over 100 damaged machines, many from the storm 2 weeks ago that hit Kurt Carlson's farm.
We'll probably do a lot of the labor and a lot of the work ourselves. If we want to get it back up and running, we're going to probably have to do it ourselves.
Since there's so many of them down, there's going to be a lot of machines that probably won't get running in several spots of the state until maybe the latter part of July due to availability and just manpower.
Stoltenberg says it could cost farmers from $1,000 to repair up to more than $100,000 to replace. He says the majority of his customers, though, have insurance to cover most of or all of that cost. And unfortunately, some have time to wait for repairs.
There's been a fair amount of crop damage also, and some of these pivots might not need to run.
For those that do, the machines will be needed soon.
We can't delay this. Irrigating season is going to come if we want it to or not.
Stoltenberg says if you are a farmer dealing with damage, make sure to work closely with your pivot dealer and your insurance adjuster.
Here in Nebraska, unfortunately, many farmers have been busy replanting. The latest USDA report says wheat was turning color in southern Nebraska. Pastures continue to show improvement with recent rains. Nearly 10% of corn rates poor to very poor, 25% fair, 54% good, and 12% excellent. And in Kansas, the winter wheat harvest is off to a soggy start. About 2% of the crop has been cut. That's better than last year, but well behind the 19% average for mid-June. Statewide across Kansas, about 28% of wheat is mature. 71% is ripe in south central Kansas, where growers have begun cutting. One grain elevator manager says there's so little wheat that nobody is excited about getting out into the fields. Climatologists say there's a 70% chance El Nino will hit this year, and farmers are keeping their fingers crossed. A Kansas state expert says El Nino will affect grain production across the world. The warming of sea temperatures is expected to hit this fall and would bring extra rain to the United States, which would help crops like corn and soybeans.
We've had 4 years of drought. We're just coming out of a 4-year drought cycle in the United States, and we'd like this to get back to what we call trend line yields and big crop production so that there's plenty for everybody and the prices can decline.
That would lower food prices, but El Nino could be bad for South America, which is expected to be drier than usual. Hong Kong agrees to a deal to import more U.S. beef. Ag Secretary Tom Vilsack made the announcement. Hong Kong is already the 4th largest market for U.S. beef, reaching a historic high $823 million last year. This is a big step in overcoming obstacles put up over fears related to BSE, something only 4 U.S. animals have tested positive for. And here's an opportunity to see an alternative crop. The Clavon family started growing lavender on their farm for some extra income and hosted their 2nd annual festival to showcase the plant's use in aroma and food products. Growers say a winter kill hit them hard this year, but the crop is well suited for Nebraska.
It's a little bit temperamental, where most people think that you have to water it all the time. They don't like to have wet feet, so they're a very drought tolerant plant, so that helps being in Nebraska.
The farm distills oil from the harvested plant and puts it in products they sell like lotions and linen sprays. The state's best high school rodeo athletes just wrapped up competing this weekend in Hastings. The chute opens and the chase is on. This is steer wrestling as the athlete jumps off his horse and wrestles his target to the ground. If that sounds like hard work, competitors say it is, and they train just like they would for any sport.
Preparation and stretching, just like any sport. You go and you got your horses, you got to feed them, water them. It's just like any other thing, and you got to be there earlier. It's not just go up, show up, and go in the chute and ride a horse. It's a lot of preparation goes into it.
The state finals took place in Hastings, as it has for the past dozen years. Top finishers qualified for the National High School Rodeo. Rare and well done. Angus is in the spotlight here in Nebraska for a national cattle show. The North American Junior Red Angus event was hosted at the Nebraska State Fairgrounds, attracting exhibitors from 22 states. Pastor Todd Burpo of Imperial kicked things off, sharing from his book and movie, Heaven is for Real, currently showing in theaters. Much more than a cattle show, kids compete at public speaking, livestock judging, photography, even a golf tournament. We will have much more later in the show. A film highlighting young farmers and ranchers will be screened right here in central Nebraska. The Grand Island Chamber of Commerce Ag Committee will host the documentary Farmland, June 26th at 7:15. It centers on 6 young farmers, including one in Nebraska. Admission is $2 or free with a food pantry donation. Much more from this Red Angus cattle show still to come. Plus, Kent's got your forecast, but up next, our Grow interview.